All right, guys, welcome to the NBA season preview on the block. Joe Ferrer here with Lamar Grant. Welcome back. It's been a while. And Igor Henriquez. So just in case anybody forgot, Raptors did win the NBA championship. Lamar just let us know that he did get some memorabilia. I didn't know about that. Learned something new today. But Kawhi's gone, and the Raptors are trying to defend their title as best as they can. And then some breaking news today: Pascal signed a 4-year max with the Raptors for 100 and I thought it was 130. 130 for 4 years. So at least Raptors fans do have something to look forward to there. And then most of the team is unrestricted going forward, except Norm. Yeah. Norm has, I think, 2 years left on his deal. Kyle has 1 year after this one. And Pascal, I think everybody else is expiring or restricted going forward after that.
Yeah.
So this will be the last year for that. But since we're doing this, let's start off in the East. And what we'll do going alphabetical order then, Atlanta Hawks. I know that you like Trae Young. He's been one of your guys.
How do you think? I'm riding with Vince.
Vince, this is Vince's last year.
He had a beautiful game. He had a beautiful game 2 days ago. Beautiful watching him play. My heart. I've liked this guy for over a quarter century. He's still in the league. Hopefully, trade deadline, he can go to the Raptors and finish out. Look, I'm going to watch every one of their games for sure. I like Trae Young. Sometimes I watch him, I think maybe because I remember how Steph was when he first came to the league. It didn't look like he was going to be this good. I always liked him, but I didn't think he was going to turn into this. And I see a lot of similarities. So hopefully Trae can turn into something. But Atlanta has no chance of doing anything this year.
You don't think they have a chance to make the playoffs?
No. You have them in your playoffs?
We'll talk about that later. But I think they have a good chance.
I mean, you look at Collins, you look at the other guys that they have going over there. They don't have a great team, but it's a young and competitive team, and I think they'll give some teams problems. I think Trae in his second year is going to be a better player, he was pretty good in that year as well, but. Is this his third year or second year? Second year now, yeah.
Second half he went crazy.
Yeah. So they have some pieces. I like Collins. They have
Reddish. I forgot him.
I
love Reddish, by the way.
DeAndre Hunter, I think he went 3rd overall for Virginia. He looks really good too. He's starting to get small forward.
I think Reddish is going to be better than Barrett. I'm just putting it out there.
Hunter? Or than Barrett?
Reddish
will be better than Barrett.
Yes. That's my opinion.
But all in all, it's not like they're. If you look at the bottom half of the Eastern Conference, there isn't exactly a team that really sticks out. We'll talk about Orlando and then the Pistons and so on and so forth, but it's one of those situations where a lot of those teams tend to blow things up. You look at the Pistons, they might get rid of Blake Griffin. That might be another rebuild situation. The Hawks look at a team on the rise that is one of those teams that I wouldn't be surprised if they jump in and make the playoffs in that last spot.
They're definitely going to fight for it at 8th. They also brought in Jabari Parker.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if he's going to play any minutes there. Injury prone and not much other than a scorer, but they just have so many young guys. Like Kevin Huerter came in last year, and it's happened a lot with the comparisons. But people are comparing Atlanta to a young Golden State team with Steph and as being Clay, and then Kevin Huerter as being Clay.
Yeah, you got Evan Turner there. That's also some good veteran presence.
Yeah, there's some guys coming off the bench, but with like I said, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. And then obviously Trae Young, Alan Crabbe's there as well, and John Collins. John Collins like a 20 and 10 guy too.
Yeah,
Can't really play defense, but they definitely look like a young, solid team, and they're going to be a bright future coming up. We'll talk about if we have them in the playoffs a little bit later, but we'll move on to the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie did sign there. Kevin Durant obviously not going to play this season. Might, depending on how they make a run in the playoffs, you might see him there. But pretty much the same team. They brought in Taurean Prince as well. He's going to start at small forward with Durant out. How do you guys like Brooklyn?
I don't like him. I don't like Kyrie.
You don't like Kyrie?
I told you. Remember I said I didn't like the way he was playing. No, even when he was still there. Remember I said I don't like the way he's playing. If he leaves, then good riddance. It's a blessing that I got Kemba Walker. But I don't care about this team at all. Obviously, when Durant comes back full healthy, not this year, next year. Even if he comes back, he won't be fully. But I don't think he'll take that chance. I don't like Brooklyn at all. I don't like Kyrie.
That's the big thing, right? It's going to be a situation where they've literally, traded off Kyrie Russell for Kyrie in this situation. Durant's not going to be around. And you look at like you mentioned, what Kyrie did in Boston last year wasn't good. I would say both the years that he was there wasn't a good situation, and I think that'll be a situation. If Kyrie and the teammates gel, the team will do quite well. If it's a situation where Kyrie starts taking over and other guys like Calvin LeVert I mean, I know they brought in DeAndre Jordan and things like that, but Spencer Dinwiddie's also there. But if it doesn't, I actually do like Joe Harris. Joe Harris is a really good three-point shooter.
Sharpshooter.
But if it's a situation where Kyrie's again being a problem in the locker room and he doesn't gel well with his teammates, they'll struggle. And again, they don't have the same horses that the Celtics have to get them through. So that's one of those situations where it's a toss-up where they can do some legitimately decent things, but it can also be a catastrophe if Kyrie messes that up. So I do have them in the playoffs. Like I said, we'll get to that later. But
Which one's the shooter?
Joe Harris is a
Joe
very,
Harris
very
won
great
the
shooter.
3-point
Yeah, I
line.
like him a lot.
Joe
He's
Harris
the
is a
only
good shooter.
person I like on this team.
You don't like Jared Allen either?
Jared Allen has some good.
Jared Allen I like a lot.
But I mean, that's the only guy I like.
Again, LeVert isn't bad for what he brings. He's not
okay.
He's not a bad player, but
He's
I
good.
mean, their team is going to be middle of the pack in the East more than likely, but they won't do much without Durant. They're healthy.
I think they finished 6th last year and played Philly in the first round, right? Philly was 3rd.
That's correct.
So yeah, like I think that they might regress based on the standings, but I think that we'll get into the playoffs, like I said later. But like it would be a big disappointment if they don't make the playoffs, even without Durant. Like Kyrie Irving, I'm not really worried so much what he's going to do off the court. I just feel like when D'Angelo was there, I don't think he was as high maintenance on the court as Kyrie's going to be, because Kyrie comes in and kind of will hijack your offense. At least you know that with Russell, he's going to come in and shoot the shot pretty consistently. You know that Kyrie's going to dribble the ball a lot, and you have so many guys there. Dinwiddie, like you said, Caris LeVert, Joe Harris, Torian Prince, like there's Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan's going to start for them. They have a lot of bodies.
It's a very New York-based team for sure.
Yeah,
A
lot of changes too, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of coexist. Let's go to your guys' Boston, because we want to move on. Start it off.
I'm going to say this to make sure we're clear. This is my team. I believe in them in the coaching. I believe that they will come together and do some dangerous things. But I will say this that I have to make sure I'm clear about. And I said it 2 years ago, and I'm going to say it now. Brown is the reason Boston lost to Cleveland. Boston, Smart, and Tatum got hurt were all a part of that USA team that lost. I'm not a huge fan of Brown, but if he develops, I'll say, okay, I'm happy that you're here, but I'm scared. I don't like they give him all this money.
They didn't pay him $80 million yet.
Yeah.
Would you though?
See,
To be honest, I wouldn't. I don't think
put a
he's that
leash-
good.
He's good if you put a leash on him, but Boston, the way they play, even your worst player, when you go out there, play like you're a starter. And I love that
Like
about him.
Rozier.
Yeah, I love
last
it.
year.
Yeah. So, he's the only player on that team like a Westbrookish where you have to calm him down. He thinks he's better than he is, I think, but
He needs a reality check.
kind of. But the way that he coaches, anybody who plays basketball would love to play with a coach where when it's not, you don't put you don't put the bench in just to buy time for your starters. When you're in the game, you play. It is not, okay, you do this, you do this. If you're good enough to make this team, you're good enough to play the basketball. If you can hit a shot, shoot. I love the way that they play, and that's why they all feel free to jack up 100 shots. But yeah, it's my team. I think I'm confident with them. Kemba is just like Kyrie, but less selfish. I love his heart. I think he's just as clutch. I like him. That's my guy.
So, I mean, I'm pretty high on the Celtics in terms of going into the season based on the fact that I do think that Kyrie being out there, that the young guys will step up and be as good as they were in that run that got them into the Eastern Conference Final. A couple of concerns I do have. I don't know where you're going to get out of Hayward, and I think that's going to be another situation. I think they pressed him into a lot of minutes last year. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it was a catastrophe. So I think that's a bit of a situation they have to handle. If realistically he's not, again, I know he's getting paid max money, but if he's not contributing, they've got to really put him into a substitute role for the most part. And then if you look at the 4 and the 5, I'm a little bit concerned with that. Not much depth at the 4.
That's what I was going to say.
Very concerned with Eisen Williams there. I don't know if that's going to really cut it at the 4, but and then at center, I'm a huge fan of the Taco Man. No, I'm a huge fan of the Taco because I want to see that guy succeed because he's not only because of the name, because it is an awesome freaking name, but he legitimately, it would be one of those stories like kind of like Manute Bol type thing where you kind of want to push for the guy. So I'm happy that he made the team. What was that?
Manute Bol was more skilled. I hope this guy does well too.
Taco's entertaining. He's got the fanfare. He's a guy that you want to see succeed. Cantor, I'm not a huge fan of Cantor, but again, considering it's not a huge depth heavy center position in the East, I don't think it'll be a big problem. But will they miss Aaron Baines? I think they will, because I thought he was tough in there and he brought rebounds. I thought that was an interesting move. I didn't understand it considering the depth. but I mean, maybe they know something that we don't. So I have them high up in my rankings, but I am a little concerned about those two spots. And I'm banking on Tatum having a really good year, Kemba having a really good year, and Brown having a bounce back year there.
Okay, so with Boston for the past few years, at least the last two, they've really succeeded because they've had so many injuries and guys have had to step in. Whether it was Hayward, Marcus Smart's always hurt, so they've had guys come in. So now Rozier's gone, Baines is gone, Horford's a massive loss. The only thing I can think of why they kind of let all those guys go is they want to play a little bit quicker, right? Because now at least you have Tyson there who can get up and down, Williams, the rookie they have, and then Robert Williams also at center, guys that can run the floor a little bit better. But there's going to be a totally different team. They're going to play fast paced, like I said. Carson Edwards, that guy they took from Purdue, he's hitting shots from all over the floor. It looks almost like a young Isaiah Thomas, the newer Isaiah Thomas, and he's only like 6 feet tall too. So he might be their sixth man. I like him. I like Smart, but I just feel a lot of these guys are going to try and get their own because they're in contract years, like Jaylen Brown. He turned down that $80 million or whatever it was, so I feel like he's going to try and put up numbers just because, it's a contract season, and that might, I don't know how good that's going to be for the locker room as well too, right? And all these guys, like you said, went to USA and disappointed, so I don't know the chip on the shoulder they're going to have. They also might be tired from the summer that they had with the Olympics and all that travel.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think that they'll do decently in the regular season. I just don't have much faith that they're going to go far in the playoffs.
Two things I'll say just because you sparked it in my memory. I want to make sure it's clear. One thing is Hayward. I don't like in any sport where they write off athletes. Hayward, it wasn't only that the injury was gruesome, it was mentally gruesome. I watched Hayward. I watched him all last year. When he jumps for rebounds, he's terrified. When he goes up for layups, he's terrified. He's constantly looking like he's scared he's going to fall on someone's foot. So what I'm saying is I think after a full year of playing, not getting hurt, I'm hoping it will be a bounce back mentally, not physically. Obviously, he didn't get hurt, so he was okay. But mentally, where he's not scared, like what's his name? What's the guy who went to the Clippers with Kawhi? Paul George, when he had that gruesome injury.
Yeah.
Exactly, but then mentally, you could tell that he came back and he was flying.
That's
jumping.
what they said. They said it takes 2 years, and that's what I was going to say. I forgot. Yeah.
So I trust. My bounce back to me is more Hayward than Tatum. Tatum's good, he's fine, but if Hayward can hit shots and be a double threat, then that's going to be a wonderful thing. And as for contract year and all that kind of stuff, they're a good team. They'll play together. A lot of the dysfunction was with the Kyrie and all this other stuff. Now that they're gone, they're just going to play. If you play for a contract year, that just means you play better. I don't think that should be a disruption. If you're going to get your numbers and we win, that's good for us. I don't think that has to be a negative on your team. Play your best numbers.
Well, like I mentioned to you upstairs, and it's also a redemption year for Brad Stevens because, again, like I mentioned, that NBA poll last season had him as one of the best coach in the league, and then this year, amongst the GMs, he didn't even get one vote. So he really, his stock has really dropped significantly. And again, a lot of that probably has to do with the Kyrie situation. So it's a redemption year for him, and then we'll see what they can manage. But again, I see them as a contender, but in the East. But I don't know about anything championship related.
Yeah, happy you brought that up because I think that if Boston's going to go anywhere this year, might disagree, but I think that Gordon Hayward has to be their best player. He has to be the Gordon Hayward that was in Utah. That was a two-way star. All-star for them because he can play on the defensive end too. And I know that you're not a fan, especially after the injury, but I do think that he's really going to bounce back and have a good year this year because I think he's going to have his confidence back and they're going to need him to succeed, like I said, because if he's going to be the same Gordon Hayward he's been the last year, whatever he came back, then they're going to have trouble. Moving on, Charlotte, we won't spend too much time on them because they might be the worst team in basketball. But Terry Rozier signed there. What do you think he'll do?
One thing I'll say about him is he's the second most to blame for that loss against Cleveland, and it really bothers me that he had the arrogance to move the way he did when on first take and went to this team. So I'm watching him very closely to see what he's about. That's all I'm going to say about that team. I will watch them specifically for him. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with that sentiment. I mean, it's as much as, again, we praise Michael Jordan as a player, in terms of ownership, he's done a really bad job.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think anyone can deny that.
The only team that's worse is Sacramento, right?
Yeah, he won't pay guys. I don't understand the whole Kemba situation. He was their franchise player. It is what it is. I do think that Rozier is going to get his numbers because somebody has to. And there's Batum's a decent player, but nothing to write home about. I have love for Bismack, but he's been a non-factor for years. Marvin Williams is what he is. There's nothing really there to write home about. It's going to be Rozier, and again, I think between them and the Cavaliers are probably going to be the two worst teams in the East, without doubt.
I'm just going to say one thing in defense of Jordan, not about Charlotte, is the only bad decision overpaying wise they did was with Batum, and I don't know why he did that. But other than that, Jordan isn't going to pay players that he knows aren't it. You know what it? Yes, he could have did a little bit better, but that team won't turn around until they get that one draft like how Milwaukee. Because you're not going to get free agents the way that they moved this year, and they're all divas and want to be in these nice, pretty hot areas. They're coming to Charlotte to play. So what I'm saying is with that, I think once they get that one draft, like if they had Zion this year or something like that, then they can build that way. And I think one day they could be a good team. But Jordan is not dumb enough to pay all this money, except for Batum. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen him done. But to give money and try to build a team that can't do nothing.
They almost did what Miami did. They didn't give like a max contract, but they gave bad contracts to a lot of guys, like Kid Gilchrist, Marvin Williams, Cody Zeller can play, but I think that they just overpaid. I think that they're all getting about $50 million though.
They offered like Kemba like pretty much disgraceful money to come back.
That's the thing. Because they had no money left to pay, right?
Yeah.
That's the only problem. Guys, I'm looking forward to this year. Malik Monk. He's been such a disappointment, but I'm hoping this year maybe that, Rozier being a primary ball handler, they can start him at the 2 and he can actually show what.
Miles Bridges might have a good year.
Bridges, like I love him as an athlete. I just want to see him as a basketball player, right? I want to see if the shot develops because obviously he can slash and that kind of stuff. And then PJ Washington they took from Washington. I want to see if he's gonna do a good job there as a 3-and-D guy.
And they didn't. The reason they didn't offer Kemba money is the same reason they got rid of Garnett in Minnesota the first time. It's a pity. Jordan loves Kemba Walker. They're not going to do anything. Don't waste your years here on this bad team. Just free him. He did. It wasn't like, oh, we don't think you're worth the money. That's not it. They don't have a product.
That was really the case. They could have at least traded him for some assets, at least, right?
Yeah, the deadline.
They should have just traded him at the deadline for some assets.
Got a first round
pick or two.
Maybe if they're going to do that.
Moving on to Chicago. Chicago has done pretty well in the draft. Like no superstars, but especially with Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter. Chris Dunn was definitely a miss, but Kobe White, I like him. Honestly,
he's good. I think he's the piece that's gonna really start. I like Malkin a lot. Levine, he's starting to play a lot better. But Kobe seems to be. You need to have a point guard that runs the ship, and it's not like he's like a 30-point per game, chuck every ball point guard. He can score, but he's like a Kemba Walker, not as much scoring, but he can score. He can hit threes.
He's a good shooter.
He's a good shooter. So I think that when you get a point guard like that, and you have the talent you have. I think next 2 years, absolutely. Next 2 years, you're going to see this team doing what you said, what you said to Golden State. They're not going to be like Golden State, but what you said about Atlanta, I think they're 10 times closer.
You think they have a brighter future than Atlanta does?
I think they have from what I'm seeing talent-wise, they're closer to it. Like they have the skill and stuff. So I like them. I like where they're going. Absolutely. 2 years, they're definitely top 5 in the playoffs every year.
Wow.
Okay. 2 years. 2 years. 2-3 years.
Okay.
On my end, I am a big fan of Markkanen. I think Markkanen's going to be a really solid 4 in the league if he isn't already. The Dunn and Levine situation, again, both guys from Minnesota in that Jimmy Butler deal. Dunn at times isn't terrible, but he's very injury prone and he never can stay really consistent. Levine's obviously a hell of an athlete, but again, he's another guy that one game he hits you, he gives you 40, the next game he hits, he gives you 8. Not that consistent. Otto Porter is an interesting name. He had some really good years up in Washington. He's going to get a chance really to show what he's got here. I mean, it's a team that has built, if everything goes right, there's a chance they can really slot in that spot, in that 8th spot as well. I don't think this is a team that's nowhere near the playoffs. Thaddeus Young, I've always been a fan of his because he can do a lot of different things. I like how he plays D, rebounding, and so forth. So it's a team that can really try to get into the playoffs this year if everything goes well. But like I said, a lot of injury-prone guys. It might be a year too early. I'm not as high on them as he is, but they have Thomas Satoransky. We talked upstairs. One GM said that he was the pick of the off season, which is ridiculous. But they have some guys. They have some depth. But I think it's a bubble playoff team at best this year.
I like Chicago. I went to that preseason game. Although it's preseason, I just wanted to get a kind of glimpse at some of the young guys, and I really like what I saw from Kobe White. What I read about him was that he was a big-time athlete, but I didn't see much of that in the game. It looked like he was just kind of playing a secondary role, but he was a snipe. He was a sniper out there, and he hit, I think, 5 or 6 threes in that game. He really surprised me, and I think that if they can get some spacing from him, Otto Porter, and Markkanen, then guys like Levine, Thad Young, and Carter inside will give them space to maneuver. And I really, even Satoransky, like I saw him, and he didn't really get much shine in Washington because they have so many guards, and with John Wall kind of hijacked the offense when he was there. I like the Bulls, and I think that they might surprise. Like you said, like Atlanta, I think they're a team on the rise. I think that they might have a brighter future. They don't have as much stars as like you said, like Trae Young has potential to be maybe an All NBA one day. With these guys, I don't know if anybody's really All NBA. I think maybe Markkanen has the best chance, but I like Chicago, and I'm really interested to see what happens with them this year. Move on to Cleveland. I don't want to spend too much time on them because it's not really worth it. But between Sexton and Garland, I don't know if you saw any of them. You like any of the guys they had? Kevin Love's going to come back this year.
I will say that LeBron ruined the city.
It's there! We got to clear.
I'll say what he's done to this franchise is
now our team's done it.
They had hope. They had Kyrie who would have stayed. They had Tristan who was playing well. They could have drafted Wiggins, he's a bum. They had waiters. They had a bunch of youth, and they traded it all.
They could have drafted Wiggins, and he called him a bum, which is
no, he's a bum, but I think no, but I mean he could. Remember, I told you there's a bum and there's a capable bum. With behind Kyrie Irving, he would have been a capable bum. In Minnesota, if they want him to be the man, but he can't be. Kyrie Irving would have been the man. He would have been a capable bum. And look what he left this team. He left this team in disarray. I've never seen such destruction. LeBron, wherever he goes, this Cleveland. You said that. Who did you say was the worst here? You said Charlotte. Charlotte will have a better record than Cleveland.
So no,
Charlotte will have a better.
I don't want to hijack.
I forgot LeBron played in Cleveland.
I don't want to hijack this segment, but again, if you look at the roster, the majority of these guys were all on the team when LeBron got them to the finals. I would say 9 of them.
That's not true.
Well, how many here? Let's see. Clarkson 1,
okay,
Seti 2, Kevin Love is 3, Larry Nance is 4. 5, so there's 5 of them.
Who you counting?
So there's Jordan Clarkson.
They traded Jordan Clarkson at the second half of the season, right?
What do you mean?
They brought him and the Laker guys.
Okay, but he was there when LeBron was there when they got to the finals.
Which one of these guys are on the team when he first got
Cedi Osman, Kevin Love, Larry Nance, Tristan Thompson, all those guys.
What,
But at the end of the day, like I was saying,
what all those guys?
LeBron,
what all those guys?
Again with Kevin Love and again a mixture of about like 5 guys that are on the rotation. These are not guys that are not going to get any minutes. There's 5 or 6 guys.
Tristan Thompson, and that's it.
Tristan Thompson, Larry Nance, Kevin Love. Oh, remember this is last season. Remember they made the finals.
Dude, I think Lamar said how many guys were on 2 finals teams.
Oh, okay, well that's
when
just one.
LeBron
Well,
James got
that's
traded
it.
to the team,
You
how
can
many
say,
players
you
are
can
still
say that
there?
about the Warriors half the time because they recycled half those took rotation guys. But anyways, again, Dellavedova was on. They brought him back. He's on the team. Now he's a 3rd stringer. But anyways, again, there's not much to be said here. Again, he can play with LeBron.
There was some destruction.
I've always said the same thing. Yeah, because I tell you, he props a team that isn't that good up to begin with. I keep telling you. Like all they've lost from this team. Who they lost from this team? They lost what? They lost Hill. They lost J.R. Smith.
They lost their 3 best players.
Who's
the
that?
3 refs in the striped
Kyrie.
jerseys. I don't understand it. They lost their 3.
Kyrie wasn't on the team when they made the last finals run. They legitimately lost.
Derrick Rose?
No, God. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. They legitimately lost. Guys that were in concert was J.R. Smith and Hill. That's basically it. The rest of the roster was pretty much no one else was on there.
You like that roster? When they destroyed Boston
after the Christmas, you propped those guys up.
Remember when they destroyed Boston after the trade, and he said that this team was.
The first game after the trade deadline.
You were sitting here saying that roster was good, and now they're bums.
We're
going to get to the Laker time. We'll skip this. When it gets to Lakers, I'll take it.
I didn't bring out LeBron, but at the end of the day, this team's going to be one of the worst in basketball. Why? Because Kevin Love can't play more than 40 games. And that's how it wasn't
LeBron.
It's
Kevin's fault.
A lot of it's Kevin's fault because realistically, if he played the majority of the games,
because LeBron
they would be
better. Mentally, and he went through depression. He went through a mental depression. Did he have any mental issues before LeBron? Did he have any mental issues before LeBron? Yes or no?
I don't know. He could have mental pressure.
He didn't have any mental issues before he got with LeBron.
How many playoff series did he take Minnesota to when he was a much better player?
Did LeBron put Tyronn Lue in the hospital? Did LeBron put Tyronn Lue in the hospital? Did LeBron put Tyronn Lue in the hospital? Exactly. He put Lue in the hospital and he gave Love a mental disability.
What is he playing guard now?
He's messing with people's lives.
Oh my God.
All right, let's move on. Skip that.
He sends them all to the
Just
shreds.
like the first time when LeBron left, the team's a disaster because they weren't that good to begin with without LeBron carrying the team. Anyways, they're going to be second to last, maybe last again.
We spent way too much time on Cleveland.
You gotta go to him.
Oh, my goodness.
I want you to remember what he done.
You
Don't just
brought
leave
up
a team.
LeBron from like 2 years
You don't just
ago.
leave a team and pretend. No, I'm going to talk about. You can't just leave your wife, go to another wife. I'm going to talk about the wife you
But if
left.
they're so good, why aren't they contenders? If they were so good, why aren't they
What do
contenders?
you mean? There's a lot of players that weren't there that helped. And the refs are an issue. The refs are an issue.
Guys, we need to move on. We
Yeah,
gotta
we do
move
need
The
to
on.
refs are an issue.
The refs are an issue.
Detroit Pistons signed former league MVP Derrick Rose. He's probably going to start on the bench, but he looks really good, and he might be starting by the end of the season. Quick, because we spent way too much time on Cleveland.
Again, I personally, I really do wish Casey well because again, that's my guy. He was always a good dude to me anytime I spoke to him. They're a team that, realistically, if they struggle early, they get rid of Blake. It's a rebuilding team. Again, a team that doesn't have a ton of depth. In all positions, you look at. I like the Markieff Morris pickup. I've always been a fan of both Morris brothers.
He's really
It's a bubble. It's a bubble team. I was really happy for Joe Johnson. He played in the Big Three. Got an NBA
MVP.
contract. But again, it's a bubble team. I don't have them in the playoffs, but I know a lot of people do. It'll really depend if they keep Blake. They'll likely make it if they
I
trade
can't
him.
see them trading Blake. Yeah. What do you think about
I like them. I don't like Reggie Jackson. They played okay last year, and Blake was hurt, and he's always hurt anyway. But we'll see. What
They couldn't score in the playoffs when you went out.
They have
remember?
Derrick Rose
I really
as
like Derrick Rose.
as fourth on the depth chart at point guard.
He won't.
Oh, that's a
That's
mistake.
insane.
I think that's just a mistake.
That's
Yeah. He's number 2 on this one. Detroit, I don't know. Like they're probably the most boring team in the league too. If they sign Andre Drummond to a max deal, you have to check someone into a mental insanity institution.
Well, yeah,
because
you've never really been high on Drummond, right?
I don't like, especially you get to a playoff series. We saw what happened. You can't play him. You
Because
can't
of
really
free
score.
throws,
Yeah, you
yeah.
can't really score much. Can't shoot the free throws. I don't really like Detroit at all. For Casey's sake, I hope they do well, but kind of it's run its course in Detroit. One playoff berth they had last year, like I said, they got swept because Blake went down.
And then he's is better.
We'll move on to Miami. They signed. We'll move to Miami. Dion Waiters. Looks like he's coming back, but Tyler Hero's setting summer league and setting preseason on fire. I really like what he's doing. James Johnson came in a little bit overweight. They put him on the meal plan.
A little bit.
But I don't know. What do you guys think with them? They have a lot of depth. They might even make a trade. There's been rumors for the Chris Paul trade too. How do you think Miami does this year?
I like them too. I love Jimmy Butler. I've always loved him. I don't go by any of that talking. Even Embiid is saying, I wish he didn't leave. I know that he would have chose him over that bum Ben Simmons, but we'll get there. But either way, I like Miami. I like them. Yeah.
I think again a team that will definitely make the play. I really like the center. I thought Bam had a really good breakout in the second half of the year.
And now Whiteside's gone.
Whiteside's gone. He was always a bit of a malcontent in the locker room, so that might prove to be pretty beneficial. Again, James Johnson, with a weight issue, I don't know. I mean, at this point, he's literally like on a year-to-year basis, he might be out of the league in no time. I'm even surprised that he lasted this long as soon as the Raptors pulled him. But it's Jimmy's team. I think Jimmy always wanted the spotlight, always wanted it to be his team. And this is his first real opportunity because I don't think it was his team in Chicago. I don't think it was his team in Minnesota. Definitely wasn't his team in Philly. And now this is his team, and he's the best player on the floor. Everything should run through him, and he's got a decent supporting cast. And again, there'll be a mid-level playoff team that could pose some problems to some of the big boys when the playoffs start up.
I like Miami a lot. I think that Spo might be the best coach in the league. They're going to play defense every night. They have a lot of guys that can play. Dragic, Winslow, Waiters if he ever gets healthy. Like I said, Hero, Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players. And then at the forward and center position, they just have so many bodies. Olynyk, James Johnson, Bam, and Myers Leonard, who I'm not a fan of. But all their bigs can shoot, and I think that can never hurt. I really think that this team can do some damage and maybe even win a few rounds in the playoffs. Speaking of winning a few rounds, let's go to Indiana. Oladipo looks like he's going to be over for a while. Tore his quad last year. I know that you're a big fan of his, Lamar, so you can start off. They also signed Brogdon, who you like a lot too.
Yeah, I don't see anything for them doing anything this year. They always play with heart. I don't think they're going to go and get blown out by 30 every game. I think they're going to squeeze out some games, and the games that they lose will be respectable and close. That's the most I can say for them. I know they're going to play hard.
You still like Miles Turner?
No. He really let me down badly. And when I watched him on the USA, he was a joke. He's not defending like he used to. He used to defend. I don't know what's gotten into him, but either way, hopefully anyone can get better.
I like what I saw from him last year, but go ahead.
I mean, I was actually thinking, I thought the Brogdon signing was actually one of the better ones for in the offseason because I mean, just watching him in the playoffs against the Raptors and against the other teams, he's a guy that can really, when he's on, he can really take over a game. I like he's a good defender. Again, I like the team. It really will depend on. I know they're again thinking about dealing Sabonis. I think that'll be an issue for them at the 4. Turner is another guy that goes up and down. I agree with him that sometimes he shows flashes. And a couple of years ago in that playoff series against the Raptors, he did. He was like a guy that looked like he was going to be on the rise. A lot of their hopes will depend on what happens with Oladipo when he comes back. I see them as a team that realistically, I am losing. Who did they lose? Bogdanovich.
Young and Bogdanovich.
Bogdanovich was a big loss there as well. It'll really depend on how good Oladipo is when he comes back. I still see them as a solid playoff team. I don't think they'll.
They might be able to win a round.
Depending on where they
depending
get
on the matchup.
On the matchup, but I don't see them really in the top 4 or anything like that. But I mean, there's a possibility that depending on what happens with the Nets, they may be a 5-6 type of team. Maybe I don't know. Miami might be another situation where they leapfrog Indiana, but.
I really like Indiana. I don't know how much I like them, but I like the signing of Brogdon a lot. I think that one of the best defensive defenders at the point guard position, shoots the ball really well, and they're going to need some spacing because they lost, like I said, Bogdanovich, who is a loss, but I think that they might be able to nullify that with him. Jeremy Lamb's there. Seems like he's been in the league forever. Hasn't liked what he's, he never really reaches potential. He might be softer than Wiggins, and that's hard to be. But TJ Warren also went there, and he's been in Phoenix, so nobody's really seen too much of him. He hasn't really played a meaningful game in his entire career. But TJ Leaf, they also brought back. Sabonis is going to be interesting because in a contract year, and I just read that there's some, they're having some stalls in negotiations. I really like his game. I just don't know. Same thing as like we said about Jaylen Brown before, and we'll get to Buddy Hield a little bit later. I just don't know how much you can pay all these guys that are not all-stars, but they're kind of banging on that door trying to become one. I don't know if you can really give a guy like that $80 or $90 million, especially like Miles Turner got 72 a few years ago, and that's looking a bit like a bargain. But I think Indiana might be able to win a round. They're definitely a playoff team for me. And I guess that's it. We're going to get to New York now, who's absolutely terrible. They signed a lot of power forwards. Not really sure why, but not a playoff team most likely. Lamar, what do you think
The
about
Knicks?
them? Yeah.
I even though I said I think Reddish is going to be better, I really hope Barrett doesn't fail in New York. I just don't think it's fair because they really wanted Zion and he looks like the backup choice. He reminds me of not as good right now Tim Hardaway. So for you to get rid of Tim Hardaway and then to get him and they play virtually the same to me, I don't know, but hopefully he does something like a Jeremy Lin Saturday type thing, and they have no chance of winning anything. I just mean like just to bring some sort of hope to the city. Yeah, to the city. He's the only reason I'd ever watch them play. So
I'm kind of gonna disagree a little bit on this whole situation. I think the Knicks will improve pretty significantly from what, again, depending on how guys gel. They do have a lot more talent than they've had in a lot of years. I think Julius Randle's a little bit undervalued. I think he'll have a really good year as being a reasonably good option there. Again, I don't know what they're going to get from Barrett. I still like Marcus Morris, Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr. They've got a lot of talent on the team. You don't know what you're going to get from Frank
Ntilikina?
Yeah, they've got a lot of talent. I mean, they're a tough team. They're going to be hard to. Mitchell Robinson had a really good breakout in the second half of the year last year too. So it's not going to be a team that.
It'll be a tough out. Like,
They'll be a tough out. I mean,
yeah.
they'll compete every night. It's not going to be a team where I think they'll have the New York. Obviously, they were expecting for Durant or Irving or someone to come in there, and now they get this squad, which they're not, obviously that happy with, and they missed out on Zion. But it's a team that's going to be reasonably compete, and I don't think they're going to be a dumpster fire. I think they'll compete, and they'll be a tough out. And it wouldn't even stun me if they're on that bubble to
Make the playoffs possible.
sort of make the playoffs, maybe 10th, or maybe 11th. But they got some talent in there.
I just look at the roster, and there's just so many guys that are either fringe starters or bench guys, like Dennis Smith, Peyton, Ntilikina. Like, can you really differentiate who's that much better than the other? And the same thing for all their small and power forwards. Like Marcus Morris had that incident, they're throwing the ball off Justin Anderson's head. Like, what are these guys trying to do? I don't know. We're playing basketball. We're trying to be bullies on the court, right? And who knows? Maybe.
But you know what? Sometimes when they have the mentality they're not going to be bullied around. Like, it was a dumb move, like grabbing the ball and then.
It was excessive. Yeah.
It was excessive, but you know what? It also shows that it brings that New York grit that I was talking about with Brooklyn a little bit. And will that win them a ton of games? Probably not. but it'll make them a tough out and a team with some character, right? And those type of teams usually compete for each other. So we'll see.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Grit doesn't matter unless you back something up. Like, it's almost like that Baker Mayfield effect. People loved it when he was running his mouth, and now that he's losing, people are acting like whatever. No, he's a big mouth. You know, I won't even get into that. But when we go to, I won't even get into that bum. But with the Knicks, remember when the first Golden State team that had Barbosa, Bogut, like that bench, Livingston, but those type of guys. Barnes was a starter, but no, not
Oh, when
Barnes.
he was gone.
The team that they got
won the
rid of all of
championship?
them. Yeah, they
Oh,
got rid of all of
okay.
them to get the
Right.
right. Barnes was a starter, so I don't count him. But they had a good bench, and everyone knew it. Like, they were vicious.
Livingston was there.
Livingston was off the bench.
Yeah.
They had some guys. Either way, this team reminds me. The Knicks remind me of those
Their
type of
bench
players.
unit?
But without real starters, you're not going to do anything.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Their bench
Morris and
guys
these guys
come
are
in,
these they could be good. Like, Randall's a good player. Morris is a good player. These guys can
Portis
do something. But
even.
you put Portis is a good player. But you put them together and say we need you to do something.
You're in trouble.
No. Mm-mm.
You're in trouble.
You put a starting line on that, and that would be a dangerous team.
Like Bobby Portis, Mitchell Robinson, Taj Gibson's there, and I really like that Michigan rookie too, Iggy Brazdelkis or whatever. Like, he looked pretty decent for a rookie. Kevin Knox. Like, if I'm New York and I'm a fan, I want them to develop the guys that they actually drafted, right? So you want to see Ntilikina, even Alonzo Trier, who's looked pretty decent. He's a capable scorer. And then, Mitchell Robinson and Kevin Knox. You want to see the guys that they drafted be developed. You don't want to bring in all these guys and then just stunt your growth, and then you lose them to free agency and they're better on other teams. Let's go quicker. Orlando Magic. Made the playoffs last year, won a game against Toronto, didn't win again. What do you think?
I don't like them. I hope Gordon continues to improve. I like his personality. I like him, but I don't think anything of him. Is what's his name still there?
Fultz is there now.
Vucevic?
Mo
I'm sure
Bamba.
Fultz. No, the guy that used to be on the Ross. Is he still there?
James Ross got re-signed.
I like him. I like Ross. I don't know, man.
You picked him to be the Raptors. He was the Raptors killer in your prediction last playoffs.
Yeah. I love Ross.
For me, again, Jonathan Isaac is probably going to take some steps this year.
Backwards?
No, I think you know what, he's going to be a pretty, again, solid player. I think he's still going to make a nice leap here. They're a good team. Again, they made the playoffs last year. They gave the Raptors that first tough game, and then afterwards just really crumpled afterwards. But I consider that, again, a couple other teams I'm liking more in terms of making the playoffs, so I do see them out. Again, Vucevic I think is going to be another all-star level player again, but I do see some other teams making small jumps, and the East did get better, so I do see them getting bumped out a little bit.
It's going to be tough for them. I don't know. Fultz still looks like he's just kind of moving around. I really want to see what he brings this year.
Free throws.
Yeah, I want to see what happens with him. Gordon, I'm not sure really how much better he can get. I think he's kind of already exceeded expectations. Isaac, if he's able to dribble the ball, I know that he can shoot. But it's fun. No, a lot of these guys, like, they're big time athletes, but they're not really basketball players, right? They can defend, but if you're taking a guy in the top 5, you want to like make sure that this guy can dribble the ball, take it to the net. That's what I was gonna say. They brought in Frugamino too. Bamba's coming back because he was injured all year. Really, they spent a lottery pick on him. He was a top 6 pick. They have a big logjam in the front court positions, and you got Fournier and Ross there. They do have some floor stretching. Carter Williams can't shoot to save his life. DJ Augustin, right? Like, it's another team that has so many guys and very few great or good players. Enough on Orlando. Let's go to Philly. You don't like Ben Simmons. What do you think about the team, though? They brought in Al Horford, and they brought in, Tobias Harris got $180 million. God knows how he got it, but he did.
I don't like Tobias Harris at all. I hate Ben Simmons worse.